Welcome to Tomorrow Unveiled. We're your guide to making sense of the future, looking at the breakthroughs shaping it. And the past week, June 23rd to June 30th, 2025. It really feels like a turning point for artificial intelligence.
It does, doesn't it? We're seeing something beyond just making the existing AI models bigger.
Exactly. It feels like a shift. The conversation this week, it isn't just about scaling up these general models anymore. It feels like AI is getting, well, specialized, foundational even, and really physically integrated into things.
That's a great way to put it, integrated.
So our mission today on Tomorrow Unveiled is, as always, to cut through all the noise, pull out the really crucial bits of insight from these latest developments, and give you a clear picture of what actually matters.
And what's really striking, I think, is that the big news isn't purely about building larger AI brains, so to speak. It's more about AI becoming, like, essential infrastructure itself.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, it's embedding itself deeply into, well, all sorts of areas. Our own biology, for one, and the actual silicon chips powering everything. It feels like a genuine transformation in how AI is being built and used.
Okay, that's the perfect setup, because we're going to dive deep into some of these revolutionary steps forward. We'll hit genomics, robotics, chip design areas you might not immediately think of as AI playgrounds.
Right.
We want to unpack how these breakthroughs are creating new value, definitely. But also, and this is critical, talk about the questions they raise.
Yeah.
Safety, ethics, the impact on all of us. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay, kicking things off, let's unpack something huge in understanding our basic building blocks, DNA. I'm talking about Alpha Genome from Google DeepMind. This sounds, well, like a game changer.
Oh, it absolutely is. Our dedicated research team found this breakthrough basically solves something biologists call the sequence-to-function problem in genomics. That's a puzzle they've been wrestling with for, like, decades.
Sequence to function.
Okay.
So what does it actually do?
Well, the reports from June 25th say Alpha Genome can process up to 1 million DNA base pairs. Think of them as the letters in our genetic code, all at the same time, and at single-letter resolution. That's incredibly fine-grained.
1 million base pairs at once. Wow.
Yeah. And with that detail, it can predict all sorts of molecular properties, things like which genes get turned on or off, how genetic information is spliced together, even how the DNA itself is packaged up inside our cells, and how different parts of chromosomes physically connect.
And it does this across different biological processes.
Exactly, across 11 distinct biological modalities, things like gene regulation, disease pathways. It's incredibly comprehensive.
Okay. The results must be pretty impressive then.
They really are. The data we reviewed shows it hit state-of-the-art performance on, get this, over 50 different genomic prediction benchmarks.
50. Okay. Any standout numbers?
The big one is probably a 25.5% improvement in predicting gene expression compared to the previous best models. That's a significant jump.
A quarter better. That's huge.
Yeah.
And is it just theory or is it already being used?
No, it's got immediate relevance. It was successfully used to predict specific mutations that drive cancer in patients with TAL leukemia. So straight to potential clinical impact.
That's amazing. But, most of our genome doesn't actually code for proteins, right? That 98%, the dark matter of the genome.
Right. And that's exactly where Alpha Genome really shines. Our research team highlighted that this breakthrough tackles those non-coding regions that older models just couldn't make sense of.
So it can interpret that dark matter.
It allows for virtual experimentation on those regions. You can think of it like a computational microscope for biology. It lets scientists see and analyze things that were just invisible before. It's poised to massively speed up discovery.
So let's bring it home. What does this actually mean for you, the listener?
Well, this isn't just abstract science happening in a lab somewhere. This could genuinely revolutionize how we discover drugs. It could point to completely new targets for therapies.
And personalized medicine. You hear that term thrown around a lot.
This could actually pave the way for true personalized medicine. Imagine being able to pinpoint the precise genetic reasons behind complex diseases like heart disease or Alzheimer's, and then tailoring treatments specifically to your unique genetic makeup. That's the real promise here. It's profound.
Okay, moving from the biological to the physical, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Imagine robots. Robots that don't need a Wi-Fi signal all the time to work. Robots that are actually, untethered from the cloud.
Ah, yes. Google DeepMind's Gemini Robotics on-device.
That's the one. It sounds like it tackles a core robotics challenge.
It really does. It brings up that crucial question of true robot autonomy, doesn't it? How do we get robots out of the controlled, predictable factory setting and into the messy, unpredictable real world? especially if they can't always rely on a network connection.
Right, like in a disaster zone or even just a house with spotty Wi-Fi.
Exactly. So Gemini Robotics On-Device, announced around June 24th, it's what they call a Vision Language Action Model, VLA. And the key thing our research team noted is that it's specifically optimized to run entirely on the robot's own hardware, locally, on device.
No cloud needed for basic operation.
For many tasks, no. It lets the robot perceive its environment using vision, understand commands given in natural language, like pick up that bag, and then execute quite complex physical actions, all autonomously.
And the examples are pretty compelling, right? Like unzipping a bag or folding clothes.
Yes, the demonstrations showed it doing exactly those kinds of dexterous tasks, totally offline. What's also really striking is how adaptable it is.
Adaptable how?
It can be specialized for new tasks using a surprisingly small amount of training data. We're talking maybe just 50 to 100 demonstrations. That's incredibly efficient compared to older methods.
50 examples, that's it. That lowers the barrier quite a bit.
It really does. And it also shows something called embodiment generalization.
Embodiment generalization. Okay, break that down.
It just means the same basic AI model can learn to control different physical robot bodies. So you could potentially use the same core intelligence for a wheeled robot, a robotic arm, or even those advanced humanoid robots like the Eptronic Apollo.
So the brain adapts to different bodies. That's pretty sci-fi.
It is. Think of it like this. The old way was mostly a cloud brain, right? All the heavy thinking done remotely. This new approach is more like giving the robot a spinal cord.
A spinal cord, I like that analogy.
Yeah, the big cloud brain still does the complex high-level learning, but then it sort of downloads optimized skills, reflexes almost, down to this on-device spinal cord for instant real-time action. No lag waiting for the cloud.
Okay, so the implications for you, the listener, this seems huge.
Definitely. Think about manufacturing lines becoming more flexible, logistics, massive warehouses where robots can just work without complex network setups.
Or healthcare. Maybe robots assisting patients where data privacy is absolutely critical, so keeping processing local is a must.
Precisely. Or imagine robots helping out in those disaster zones we mentioned, where connectivity is unreliable. Or even just in your home, if your internet goes down, the robot could still perform its core functions.
It also makes you think, could we see something like AI subscriptions for our robots, where they get regular updates and new skills downloaded to their spinal cord?
That's a very real possibility. Continuous improvement delivered directly to the device. It's a whole new model.
Okay, so we've got AI understanding biology, AI giving robots autonomy. And speaking of physical machines, the next step is AI actually designing the fundamental components, the chips themselves.
Right. This isn't just AI using the hardware anymore. This is AI making the actual foundation of our digital world smarter.
It loops back on itself.
Exactly. It connects to that bigger picture. AI isn't just something complex engineering produces. It's becoming the main tool for doing complex engineering. It's creating this recursive dependency. AI designs better hardware to run better AI.
And Arteris FlexGen seems like a prime example here.
A perfect example, based on our research, it's an AI automated network on chip, or NOC-IP. Now that's a bit technical.
Let's unpack NOC quickly, network on chip.
Think of it as the communication backbone within a complex chip, connecting all the different processing units. Designing these efficiently is a huge bottleneck. FlexGen uses AI to automate the entire design of this network topology instead of engineers doing it manually.
Automating the whole thing. What's the impact?
The impact is pretty staggering. Reports suggest up to a 10x productivity boost for the chip designers.
10 times faster.
Potentially, yes. And up to a 30% reduction in the physical wire length needed on the chip, which saves power and improves performance. It can apparently take a process that used to take multiple weeks of optimization and condense it down to under 2 hours.
Weeks to hours. That's transformative for chip design, especially for complex chips, right?
Absolutely critical. For those really complex system on chips, or SoCs, that you find in things like advanced driver assistance systems in cars or in massive data centers powering the cloud, this speeds everything up dramatically.
And this fits into broader trends the research team noted.
It does. We're seeing other signs of this shift. For instance, OpenAI apparently starting to rent Google's tensor processing units, TPUs, to power models like ChatGPT. That's a move away from maybe hardware they relied on previously.
Interesting. So specialized AI hardware is becoming more central.
It points to this realization that our current computers, While they weren't fundamentally designed for the kind of massive workloads AI demands, there's this urgent need for new hardware architectures, new kinds of chips.
Which AI itself is now helping to design faster and better.
Precisely, that recursive loop again.
So what this means for you is that these AI-driven design tools like FlexGen aren't just nice-to-haves, they're quickly becoming essential. They're basically required to keep pushing semiconductor performance forward. We need AI to build the next generation of hardware, to run the next generation of AI. It's a powerful cycle.
A fundamental shift in how we engineer our technology.
We are really just scratching the surface today on how fast AI is moving. If you're finding this insightful, and we hope you are, please do take a quick second to like this video if you're on YouTube, subscribe to Tomorrow Unveiled, and definitely hit that notification bell so you don't miss our future updates. And if you're listening on a podcast service, maybe Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we would be incredibly grateful if you could leave us a rating and a review for Tomorrow Unveiled. It honestly makes a huge difference in helping new listeners discover us. Okay, so we've talked about hardware, robotics, biology, but beyond the shiny objects, there's also this crucial, often unseen work in just making AI more efficient.
Absolutely. Sometimes the biggest leaps aren't entirely new inventions, but finding ways to unlock value that's already sitting there unused, or just making the existing stuff run better.
The efficiency is a breakthrough.
You could say that. A key insight our research team found is how these fundamental improvements in algorithms can act as like a force multiplier for the whole AI field. They make these incredibly powerful, complex models actually practical and affordable to run.
Any examples that sit out?
One really good one is Muvira from Google Research. It stands for multi-vector retrieval via fixed dimensional encodings. Bit of a mouthful.
Okay, Muvira. What problem does it solve?
It tackles a common issue in information retrieval, like in search engines or chatbots. Often, you need to search based on multiple aspects or vectors of information, which can be really slow and complex. Muvia cleverly transforms this multi-vector problem into a much, much faster single-vector search.
So it simplifies the search. What are the gains?
The results are pretty remarkable. It reported 90% reduction in query latency, basically, how long it takes to get an answer. And on top of that, 10% higher recall, meaning it finds more relevant results.
90% faster and better results. That's huge.
It really is. The impact is direct. It improves performance and cuts cost for any large-scale system that needs to find information quickly. Think web search, internal search systems for companies, and even those retrieval augmented generation systems, RAG for short.
RAG. That's the tech where AI pulls in external info to make its answers better, right? Like an advanced chatbot.
Exactly. Muvira makes the backbone of those systems faster and cheaper. It's a fundamental efficiency win.
And this connects to that idea you mentioned earlier, unlocking trapped value.
It really does. That's a powerful theme we saw this week. It's not just Muvira. Take multimodal genetic analysis, or MREG.
MREV.
Yeah.
Different from AlphaGenome.
Yeah, well, AlphaGenome figures out DNA function from sequence. MREGLE looks at existing clinical data, complex stuff like ECG heart readings, and uses AI that understands multiple data types, multimodal AI, to find hidden biological signals already in that data.
So it's finding new insights in old data.
Precisely. The analysis our team reviewed showed it identified over 19% more genetic links to cardiovascular disease than methods looking at only one type of data. The potential insights were always in the data, but they were effectively trapped because we couldn't computationally process them effectively before. AI is unlocking it.
Fascinating. And this isn't just about data, is it?
No. We saw reports about an AI-driven technique from MIT for art restoration, using a special polymer mask guided by AI.
AI restoring art. How?
It drastically cuts down the time needed. What might take months or even years of painstaking manual work can potentially be done in hours.
Months to hours. That's incredible.
That makes it economically viable to restore and actually display countless damaged artworks that have just been sitting in storage vaults, trapped because restoration was too expensive or time-consuming. Plus, the process is apparently fully reversible and creates a digital record.
Wow. Unlocking cultural heritage. Any other examples of this trapped value idea?
One more, quite different. Profound AI. This is a platform designed for companies still running critical operations on really old legacy computer systems, like the IBM I series, sometimes called AS400.
Oh yeah, those systems are still surprisingly common in some industries.
Very common. And they hold decades of incredibly valuable business data and logic. Profound AI provides a low-code way to connect modern AI tools to these old systems, securely accessing and utilizing that trapped information. It unlocks immense value from infrastructure that was previously like a closed box.
So the big takeaway here isn't always about inventing the next shiny new AI. Sometimes it's about cleverly applying AI to make existing things vastly more efficient or to finally access value that's been locked away for years.
Exactly. It's about liberating that trapped value,
Yeah.
often with a very clear and immediate economic return. It's a huge, maybe sometimes overlooked part of the AI revolution.
Okay, this is all incredibly exciting progress, but of course, with great power comes a lot of new questions, potential problems. What are some of the big challenges or considerations that these advancements bring up? Ethics, safety, societal impact.
Right, you have to look at both sides. While the progress is amazing, we absolutely must take a hard look at the hurdles, ethical, societal, technical, even just deploying this stuff. Our research team flagged several significant risks that really need careful thought and management.
Like with the autonomous robots, the on-device ones.
Yeah, for starters, accountability. If an autonomous offline robot causes harm, who is responsible? The manufacturer, the owner, the AI itself. It raises deep questions, and there's the long-term control problem. How do we ensure these increasingly capable offline systems remain aligned with human values, especially when they aren't constantly connected for updates or oversight?
That's a tricky one. What about the genomics side, with models like MRE-GLE looking at health data?
Huge concerns there around privacy, potential bias, and discrimination. When AI processes sensitive genetic and health information, the risks of data breaches or people being re-identified go up.
And bias.
Yes, these AI models learn from historical data. If that data reflects past biases in healthcare access or treatment, the AI could accidentally amplify those biases, leading to unfair or unequal outcomes. There's even the potential for new kinds of genetic discrimination based on AI predictions. It's an area demanding extreme caution and robust safeguards. Very sensitive indeed.
Then there's the impact of AI in things like search, maybe powered by algorithms like Muvira.
Yeah, that's another area under scrutiny. While efficiency is great, AI optimizing search results purely for relevance could inadvertently create stronger echo chambers, showing people only what they already agree with.
And the zero-click search issue, where Google answers the question directly.
That's part of it too. It can impact websites and media outlets that rely on traffic, and it raises questions about transparency. Where is the AI getting its information? How do we combat misinformation if the AI itself presents it as fact?
There are even some broader concerns emerging about AI's effect on us, right? On our thinking.
There is some research, and it's still early days, but expressing concern that over-reliance on AI tools might lead to, let's say, less activity in brain regions associated with deep memory formation and complex reasoning. It raises long-term questions about potentially de-skilling ourselves.
De-skilling. Okay, what about the purely technical hurdles? Is this tech all working perfectly?
Far from it. We still hear about AI hallucination. Even in sophisticated applications like AI-driven chip design with FlexGen, the AI can still generate flawed or non-functional designs.
So you can't just trust it blindly.
Absolutely not. Rigorous validation and human oversight are still essential, especially when you're designing critical infrastructure like chips. For the on-device robots, simple hardware limitations are still a big deal: limited processing power, not enough memory, short battery life. These are major practical hurdles to widespread use.
And integrating with those old legacy systems, like with Profound AI, you said it unlocks value, but it can't be easy.
No, that last mile problem is real. You run into technical roadblocks like incompatible data formats between old and new systems, potential security holes in the legacy infrastructure, and just the sheer organizational challenge of managing such a significant change. It takes careful planning.
And then there are the bigger economic and policy challenges swirling around AI.
Definitely. The energy consumption and infrastructure build-out needed for all these AI data centers is becoming a massive issue. Costs are huge.
And maybe some hype, too.
There's certainly that. Gartner, the tech analyst firm, put out a prediction that over 40% of projects involving agentic AI, the kind designed to operate autonomously, might get canceled by 2027 simply because the costs are too high and the return on investment isn't clear enough yet.
40% canceled. Wow. And regulators are starting to step in more.
They are. Reports indicate lawmakers are already introducing bills, for example, to potentially ban foreign-developed AI in sensitive government applications. And there are growing calls everywhere for more transparency and explainability, especially when AI is used in critical areas like clinical decision-making. People want to know how the AI reached its conclusion.
So a lot of progress, but also a lot of very real challenges to navigate. Okay, wrapping this up then. What does all this signal for the future we're building? Where do these advancements, these trends we've discussed, actually take us next?
Well, pulling it all together, the convergence of these different breakthroughs,
Yeah.
it really paints a picture of an AI industry that's clearly maturing. It's moving beyond just the hype of giant language models, it's specializing, and it's embedding itself much more deeply into the physical world and the core operations of businesses.
Maturing and embedding.
Yeah.
What are the key trends you see emerging?
I think there are a few clear ones. First, that definite shift to the edge. AI capabilities moving out of centralized clouds and directly onto devices, robots, phones, sensors, cars. This is driven by needs for real-time responsiveness, better reliability, and of course, enhanced privacy.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, AI as the master tool for engineering. We talk about this a lot. AI is increasingly designing the next semiconductors, being used to discover new medicines like with AlphaGenome, maybe even engineering entirely new materials with desired properties. It's becoming the tool that builds the future tools.
The recursive loop again?
Exactly. Third, the primacy of foundational algorithms. Things like Muvira show that breakthroughs in core efficiency aren't just academic. They're critical force multipliers. They're what make the powerful models actually usable and scalable in the real world. Efficiency is king.
Okay, edge, AI for engineering, algorithms. Two more.
Fourth, the rise of domain-specific multimodal AI. Instead of one giant AI trying to do everything, we're seeing more highly specialized systems like MREGL that are experts in a particular field, like medicine or finance, and can understand and fuse different types of data text, images, sensor readings, genetic data for a much richer, more nuanced understanding.
Specialization and understanding different data types.
Got it.
At last.
Finally, I'd say the expanding open AI ecosystems. More and more powerful models and tools are being released under open or permissive licenses. This is huge because it democratizes access to cutting-edge AI, allowing researchers and companies worldwide to build upon them, accelerating innovation everywhere.
That's a great summary. So the big theme this week, AI Unveiled, it wasn't really about unveiling a bigger language model, was it? It was more about revealing the crucial foundational technologies that are making AI actually work in the real world.
That's exactly right. It's the layers beneath the surface, the silicon, the robotics, the algorithms, the integration into existing systems. It's AI becoming a fundamental, indispensable part of our underlying reality.
Indispensable, which leads to maybe a final thought.
Well, perhaps the most fascinating and daunting challenge that emerges from all this, it's for us as a society, as industries, as policymakers. The central task moving forward is going to be developing the wisdom, the foresight, really, to manage the profound risks, ethical, systemic, societal, that inevitably come along when you embed a technology this powerful, this deeply, into the very fabric of our world. That's the balancing act.
Wisdom and foresight, that's definitely something to think about. We always love hearing your thoughts, too. Whether you're listening on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, please drop a comment and let us know what you think about these AI advancements and the future they're shaping. Thank you so much for joining us on Tomorrow Unveiled. We'll see you next time as we continue tracking the future one breakthrough at a time.